Hi everyone, my name is Phil and welcome to Phil Does 3D. I'm a multimedia and 3D artist and I stream on Twitch weekdays from 5 PM Pacific time in the United States, 10 AM in Australia and 1 AM in the UK. I want to start by shouting out a thank you to Kiori123 for auto-hosting my channel. I do appreciate it, Kiori, so thank you very much. And do check out Kiori's channel. He's another 3D artist who's also a Twitch streamer, and he creates some great stuff, some great 3D work, so check him out, guys, when he's streaming. We're going to continue working on with our Art Deco building, interior and exterior, that we're making in Unreal Engine 4.15.1. It's a remake of a building I made back in 2011 using UDK, which was Unreal Engine version 3. We're recreating that for the new version of the engine. And what I'm doing first of all though is working on the assets, and as we work on them, we're bringing them into the engine one by one. So by the time we finish working on all the interior and exterior assets, we'll be able to start rebuilding our building here in the Unreal Engine. So what I'm doing though is I'm changing some of the textures from the original version back in 2011. So I'm just updating some of the textures and also making some of the assets or props, whatever you want to call them. I call them assets or props, either is correct. Just making them a little higher polygon. So that's what we're going to be doing now. We're going to continue working on our prop pieces, asset pieces in Max, 3D Studio Max. I'm using 3D Studio Max 2016. Do remember, guys, if you have any questions or anything you're not sure about, please feel free to pop into chat and ask me. It doesn't have to be regarding 3D Studio Max. I've been working in 3D for more than 10 years. I'm an artviz artist at the moment, but I've worked in games development and in film and cinema as well. So if I can answer, I'm quite happy to help, if I can. So please feel free to pop into chat and ask me. If you just want to pop in and say hello, that's cool. If all you want to do is watch, that's completely fine as well. Just going to get a quick drink here. Okay. So yesterday we were working on one of the railing sections of the interior of the model, which was way back here. This one here is the one that we were working on yesterday. Let me just isolate that piece and remove the rest of the assets so that we can concentrate on what we're doing. So this is the piece we were working on yesterday. And what we've done is we've taken the railing and the runner part of that balcony section into Substance Painter, because at the moment it's using the original texture at the top, which I really thought needed improving. It was too low res. We can afford to update the resolution of the textures now with the graphics cards a lot more powerful and the engine a lot more powerful, so we're going to be working on finishing that now. And I also want to add a bit more detailing just to the wooden sections around the outside of this balcony section. So let's jump into Substance Painter and load up the file we were working on yesterday. I also do want to thank, I think it was Girl Sniper, I'm not sure, sorry if I got your username wrong, about the smart materials. That's a good tip actually, to create a smart material so that I don't have to, so all of our wooden pieces color is the same, because I'm using a cherry wood material here, but I changed the color of the cherry wood because I wanted to make it a little redder for it'll fit better in the Art Deco building if it's just a tiny bit redder. And to get that color match between all the different assets, I created a smart material, which again, as I said, was recommended yesterday, and it was something I actually didn't know about. Mari is generally my 3D paint program of choice, but I have used Substance, but not for a while, and I wasn't aware of smart materials. That may be something new that they may have added with version 2.5. But yes, I've added a smart material, so all the pieces we bring in now, we can get the same color red and have our settings exactly the same. So we've textured up this these wooden railing sections, and I've added just like a general aged look to the top to all of the wooden sections. Because remember, this is an Art Deco building, so this would have been built back in the 1930s. You would have gotten quite a bit of wear and tear on the railings, unless somebody had sanded them back and re-varnished them. But I like the aged look, so we're going to stick with a bit of an aged look on some of the assets that we're going to be using. So let's export this texture now. So I'm going to export textures. Now I've set the initial project up as a 2K texture, but I think 2K for this is probably a bit high for a game engine model. So I'm going to knock that back to 1K. I do have to make sure I set my path correctly. So we're going to jump down to work, Unreal 4 projects, models, Art Deco building, exports, and I create a new folder for every asset I work on. That way it's easy for me to come back to and find if I need to change anything. Mezzanine rail is the one we want. And we're just going to export that texture now. We'll jump back into Max, open up my material editor. Just wait for Max to think about that for a minute. These are just the materials we're using at the moment on all the different assets. And these are my substances, so I'm going to pop them over here. Try to understand. Now, I'm only doing this in Max so that I know that asset has been completed. I don't really need to do this in Max. It's more in Unreal that we're concerned about, but by me doing it in Max, I can be sure that I don't accidentally miss an asset, that I know it's been done. And we're just going to take the color texture here as well. Pipe that into the diffuse channel. Make sure I turn on show shaded and show realistic if you're using Max. Select the railings and the runner, and I'm going to assign that texture to the model. And now we have a more nicely textured railing section, not quite as low res and horrible looking, with that aged look that I was talking about. Alright, so we've almost finished this asset, so what we're going to do now though is I want to just add a bit more detailing here to the bottom section of this wood, where this circular pattern is. So I'm going to end isolation rather, jump into this square section we've already created, because I've already created the detailing that I want for that. I'm going to zoom in and select it. Alright. Now I know I've already created the detailing I want on the interior here, so I'm going to copy a section of that. So I'll go into my Modify tab, into Sub-Object mode, and I'm going to select that part of the model. This is the detailing I want to copy over to the other side. So I'm going to do a detach, but I'm going to detach it as a clone. I'm going to call it wood detail. Okay, so that won't affect my original model now. I need to try and select that one that Max just made a clone of. We'll zoom back out, jump into my top viewport. I'm just going to move that over to closer to the other asset. I'm also going to go into my hierarchy tab, effect pivot, and center the pivot to the object. It'll just make it easier for me to work on. Now we can select those and go back into isolation mode. Alright. Let's start by doing a rotation, making sure angle snap is turned on. And we'll rotate it 90 degrees. Just got to position it here. Alright, now the size on this one is a little bit different to the one that's already there, so we should be able to fix that up. I'm going to jump into my front viewport here. So go into my modified tab, and we're in edit poly, so I'm going to go into vertex mode. I can't see the piece of geometry. It's actually inside, I think, so I'm going to move it forward a little bit more. Actually, it looks like I may be looking at the back, so I'm going to go to, instead of the front here, I'm going to go to the back. There we go. Now we should be able to see our verts. I'm just going to pull them down. And I'm going to pull the ones down on this side as well. And make sure the ones in the center are lined up with the texture there in the background. It's important too, if you're using Max, to make sure ignore backbasing is turned off when you're doing any vertex manipulation like that in Max. Otherwise you may forget one. If that's turned on, it won't select anything in the background and you're going to mess your verts up. So, okay, let's jump back into our orthographic here. Now I have to position this correctly, so I'm just looking around the model to see how far in I want to push that piece of geometry. I can't push it too far because it's going to disappear. But I don't want it to be floating above it either. Just looking at the actual geometry of that mesh in the background. I think what's happening here is I've got my mesh here turned around in the wrong direction. I just want to make sure. Yeah, it looks like I have. So all I've got to do here is flip it 180 degrees. We may have to move our verts again. I don't know. We'll check it now. Yeah, it looks like we will. So we're just going to jump back into vertex mode quickly and make sure our verts are positioned right. There we go. Now we can jump back into our orthographic and push this piece of geometry back. That's better. Hey Volt, I'm good, thank you. How are you? Thanks for popping into chat and saying hello. We're just working on our asset here before we take it into the Unreal Engine. We're nearly finished. We're just adding a bit more detailing to the bottom of this balcony railing section. Now I may pull this forward a little bit more simply because I want to make sure that I don't get any Z fighting happening between these two assets. You're working on some homework, cool. The homework's never fun though, is it? I hope you had a good Easter. Didn't eat too much chocolate and all that sort of thing. As you guys know, I took a sabbatical from all technology over Easter. I went up into the mountains into a cabin in the woods for a week, which was very nice. No phone, no TV, no technology at all. I'm assuming you're saying nope, the homework is never fun. Yeah, it's not. I agree. It doesn't get any better even when you go to university and you have to do it. It's just as bad. All right, I think the position for that is okay. Yeah, that should be cool. I'm doing this just to add a bit more interest to the wooden decorative pieces here at the front. That'll help when we throw a light in Unreal. Just as the light hits that, it's going to add more visual interest. Now, a lot of people are going to look at this and say, well, why don't you use just a normal map? By all means, a normal map will give you the illusion of depth, but it's not going to produce a nice look in silhouette. And by silhouette, I mean when you're looking at it side on like that, because the normal map is faking all of that depth. So while normal mapping is a great tool, it's not useful for everything, and it will have limitations. And one of the limitations is when you're looking at an object in silhouette like that, which is, you know, side on, or it has no depth information. It's all faked. And you're going to get a nicer play of light across actual physical polygons than you will through a normal map. And because this is a feature of the interior of that building, it's the balcony that sits over the back of the model. If any of you guys that saw the fly-through, the original fly-through, the UDK one, towards the end of the fly-through, when we go out the back of the building, there's a balcony that is on the second floor. It's like a mezzanine balcony that sticks out above from the second floor. Because it's such a prominent feature in that building at the back section, I want to make sure that it has a nice play of lighting on it. So adding just this bit more depth and geometry to the mesh will help will make the asset look a lot nicer than just trying to fake it with a normal map. Now, like I said, I'm not saying a normal map is not good to use, but it is, but just not for things like this. Normal mapping is best used on things like maybe the wood grain on these banister railings, or the grain in brick, you know, or that type of thing, or a stone grain, that type of thing, where you can't get on the ground, say, you can't get down level with it to see in silhouette that it's only a normal map. So on a ground section, normal mapping is pretty good. It was originally made and rendered using Unreal Engine 3 for Vault. Did you see the original video? But let's just quickly play the video again. I just want to play it just in case anyone hadn't already seen it, anyone maybe watching for the first time. This is the building I created back in 2011 using UDK. And it's an Art Deco building, and an interior and exterior. Yeah, you saw it, okay, cool. Well, I'll just play this through. We'll skip past the concept art here at the beginning. So this is the building we're going to be recreating in Unreal Engine 4.15 after I've finished updating the assets. But this one is just sitting on a checkerboard floor. I actually want to place the new one in a small landscape with vegetation, moving vegetation, so everything will be moving and blowing in the wind for the cinematic and look pretty. I just think it'll look nice actually physically placed in a small landscape location with trees and grass and that type of thing. So that's what we'll be doing. One of the changes we're going to be making for the new version is actually placing it in a landscape. Hey Sniper Echo, good to see you. Yeah, so one of the changes we're going to make is placing it in an actual landscape that's going to be actually have vegetation that's moving. I'll probably end up using Speed Tree to do the vegetation. You can do it without Speed Tree. Don't think you need to take out a $20 a month or $19 a month subscription to Speed Tree for UE4. You can actually get movement on a static mesh using a material. But I will probably end up using Speed Tree simply because Speed Tree doesn't fake the movement like you have to do with a material if it's a static texture, and it'll always look a little nicer and moving. I am very good, thank you, Sniper Echo. How are you? So this is the building we're going to be recreating anyway. I'm just showing this for anyone that may not know what I'm working on. And that mezzanine level I'm talking about is this one up here. You can just see the top of it there. I'm just going to pause the video here. It's that mezzanine. So it's a prominent feature in the back of the building here. So adding a bit more detailing to it is always going to be good. So, and like I was saying, you can fake it with a normal map, but actually adding a bit of geometry here is always better. And we've already made a geometry, so it's no big deal for us to copy or clone that piece and use it again. Good to hear, Sniper Echo. Yeah, so I'm just going to hold down the Shift key and drag shift a copy of that piece of geometry out and rotate it 90 degrees. How's that landscape piece coming, Sniper Echo? Have you done any more work on that, the one you're doing in Unreal? Sniper Echo has been working on a landscape he was showing me last week or the week before, which was looking very nice. I think he's going to make like a mini game with it, which will be very cool, because that's what Unreal was made for. And again, for anyone that doesn't know about Unreal, it's a free games engine you can download from Epic Games, completely free. They'll only charge you if you start making money on it, and then it's I think 5% of takings above $3,000. I think it's $3,000. So after you make $3,000 in sales, they'll take 5% of any sales you make. But the engine itself is completely free to download and use. It's used in a lot of games, a lot of studios now tend not to want to create their own. But let's do a bit of a history of video games here. Back in the day, we're talking about 10 years ago, a lot of game studios liked to make their own game engines in-house. Programmers like that sort of thing. They like making game engines themselves. They don't like using an off-the-shelf product. So it used to be very big 10 years ago to make your own game engine. Sniper Echo says, sadly I had it. Oh no. I'm sorry to hear that, Sniper Echo. I always hate hearing about people dying that are close to anyone dying, period. It's just not nice. So yeah, I'm very, very sorry to hear that, Sniper Echo. I hope you're holding up okay and your family's holding up okay. Like I said, it's always distressing when somebody dies, so hang in there, buddy. My love to you and to all your family as well. Revolt says, I love how some companies offer their products for free. It's nice that they let people use and learn them. That's exactly right. Epic Games, they sink a lot of money into developing an engine. So for them to give it away for free is very good of them. You know, you're quite welcome, Sniper Echo. Like I said, my sympathy to you and your family, and I hope you guys are hanging in there. I know what it's like to have a death in the family, and it's never nice. So let's get off that subject, though it's a bit depressing. But my sympathies. I do feel sorry. Anyway, yeah, it is good of Epic to actually let people use their engine, because it does cost millions of dollars to develop these things. But do bear in mind too, Epic want people to learn their engine, because the more people that know their engine, the more likely it is for future games companies to use their engine, because it's going to be easier for them to find staff to work on their game. So it benefits them as well as you. And the commission thing of 5% of sales after $3,000 is pretty reasonable, really, guys. I sell my work on the creative market and on Cornucopia 3D, my 3D models. They take 30% of my sales. So 5% is really reasonable. I know I've seen in some forums some guys complaining that they have to give Epic 5% of their sales, but that's nothing. Turbo Squid, if you sell on Turbo Squid, they take it's either 60% or 40%, depending on whether you go exclusive with them. So that's how much they take of a percentage. So never think that Epic taking 5% is unreasonable. It's really not. We're getting back to what I was talking about with game engines. Yeah, 10 years ago it was very, very popular for game studios to want to write their own engine. Nowadays, though, a lot of studios prefer to buy an off-the-shelf product because they don't have to put all that development time and cost and energy into making their own engine. Sniper Echo says, yes, UE4 is great to work on also. Yeah, it is. I love the Unreal Engine. I've used the Unreal Engine for quite a while. Back. Like, you know, I've done work in UDK. I was using it before UDK, though, when it was version 2. And I've always loved their engine. They make wonderful tools for artists. They have wonderful lighting in their engine. And as an artist that works in 3D, one of the best thing that you can have with regards to a game engine is good art tools. A lot of studios, when they want to develop their own engines, game engines, forget about the artist a bit and they concentrate more on the technical aspect of the engine. But then the artist has to work with it and create assets and make the game or the level look good. And it's very hard if they haven't put the time and effort into creating really useful tools for the artist to use. And Epic have always excelled at that. They've always made great tools for the artist. So the engine technically is brilliant, and the art tools that the artist uses to make their game is brilliant as well. So they've nailed it on all fronts, as well as lighting. Their lighting system is great. So I've always been a big fan of the Unreal Engine. You can make some amazing things in Unreal. And as I've been saying to you guys, I really think that some of these studios that make rendering engines like V-Ray or Mental Ray, I really should be worried, because game engines now are getting so good at what they produce graphically in real time that there will come a time where people won't use these ray traced engines or like V-Ray or Mental Ray or anything like that anymore, radiosity engines, even View for that matter, Eon View. They'll do it all in a real-time engine like you see with the Unreal Engine or the Cry engine or the Frostbite engine, because they are getting so good now. So if I was one of those studios, I would be a bit worried. Now, I hit the wrong viewport there. That's why I'm going out here to see what's going on. This is the one I want. Okay. Let's resize this asset to match that piece of geometry again now. So we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to go into vertex mode, and we're going to pull our verts in here. Pavol says, what so would people make an animation in 3D Studio Max, then render it in Unreal instead of using me? Yeah, that's what I think they're going to do. That's exactly right, Pavol. At the moment, what you do is you create your models in Max, you set up your scene, then you send it through to V-Ray or to Mental Ray to render it out if you're doing an animation or you're doing a still. I think in the near future, what they're going to end up doing is you're going to make your assets in Max. You're going to set up your scene in Unreal, say, and you're going to either render out a still image from Unreal, because Unreal can save a still image file, or you're going to get it to save out a rendered animation. You do all your camera movements in Unreal. And the advantage of doing it in an engine like Unreal, which is real time, you see exactly what your scene is going to look like. You don't have to keep rendering out stills to make sure that your lighting is correct, like you do with a rendering engine like V-Ray or Mental Ray, even though they have their real-time renderer now, V-Ray, which gives you more of a real-time look to your scene, but it's still limited. It doesn't do all of the things that the full-on rendering engine does. So you're not going to get a proper look at what the scene will look like. Whereas anything you make in Unreal, you have that instant visual feedback of exactly what it looks like when you change your lighting, when you change your skybox, when you do any of that. It's all instant. There's no rendering out, there's no delay. And believe me, working for a studio, time is everything to them. And the quicker they can get a project done, or even just iterate on the design process to make the scene itself, they're always going to favour that. So the minute that these real-time game engines get a little better, I mean, they're pretty close now, they need to get a little bit better. The minute that happens, people will stop using dedicated renderers like V-Ray and Mental Ray, Arnold, any of those, and they'll stick to just doing it all in real time. And Eon View as well, that's another one that should be worried. Even though there's nothing on the market like View at the moment, which is why I use it, to do full-on landscapes and vegetation, there will come a time where real-time will overtake that, and then people won't buy their software anymore or use it. So yeah, so you get the advantage of having that real-time look at your scene while you're building it. That's one of the main advantages of a real-time game engine. Now I'm just moving my verts here. I want to make sure I don't move them too much. But that's a little way off yet. They're not quite there yet with their real-time engines that they can completely replace a dedicated rendering engine like V-Ray. The studio I work at, we still use V-Ray. But they're getting close, and they're getting better all the time. And I'm really looking forward to what Epic does with Unreal Engine version 5 when that's released. I'm not sure when they're going to be releasing that, but it should be pretty good when it is, because version 4 is pretty good. I know that Montresseur, he's another 3D artist who occasionally streams on Twitch. He works in ArchViz, and their studio, they use the Unreal Engine. I don't in mine. I'm trying to talk them into using Unreal at my studio. But we use V-Ray at the moment, but his studio uses the Unreal Engine, so it's already happening. And believe me, an architectural visualization studio, they're pretty particular about the look of what they're doing for their clients, and if it didn't work well for them, they wouldn't use it. So the fact that they already are indicates just how good the engines are getting now. I know I've got to rotate this 180 degrees. We'll move it down. And we're going to move it in. I'm just going to go into my left viewport here, I think, for the moment, just to make sure everything is going to line up correctly. I'll do the same thing. I'm just going to move the verts to make sure everything is completely lined up correctly. Alright, now let's move it in. Okay, now let's do something about these corners here, because that looks pretty messy. And that's interesting. The underlying texture here, the original one I used, looks a little short. I'm just checking what's going on here. Again, don't judge me on these original models, guys. These were done back in 2011, and yeah, some of them are pretty crappy. So we're going to fix them up here. I think what I will do here is I'm going to select the underlying oh, it isn't in pieces. I think it's already one piece, actually. Yeah, it looks like it is. That's good. So it should be easy for us to move in. Just going to move these pieces of geometry further into the model underneath of that overhanging ledge there, banister base. Like that. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. That. And now I'm just going to fix these front decorative section pieces. Now again, the bottom of this, you're never going to see the bottom because there's a roof section here that covers it, one of those plaster decorative ceiling sections that covers that bottom piece. So even though that texture in there is really awful, it's never going to be seen. I could even remove the polygon if I wanted to. Just going to jump into my front viewport here. It's actually the back viewport, but same thing. I'm just going to move those over. I think this one here needs to be pulled forward a bit. There we go. That's a bit better. Alright, so we've added some detailing to the bottom sections, but these corners look a little bit untidy, so let's add something here to tidy up these corner pieces. I think the easiest way to do that is just going to be to add maybe a wood block. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into my front viewport here. We'll zoom in on this section that we want to create a piece of geometry for. I'm going to go in and I'm just going to add a box here. Like, we'll make it a little bit bigger. Maybe like, we may even bring it down just past the edge of the bottom of that decorative piece as well. Alright, I'm going to jump into my modify tab now. Make sure that that is in the right spot because Max always places it in the wrong spot here. There we go. Just going to pull it forward. I'm going to increase the height here so it's more squared off. Okay, I'm just checking it here in my top view. I'm going to pull it up a bit. Okay, so we have our box. It's hanging down a little bit lower, but let's make the box a little bit more interesting. I don't like this hard edged on the box anyway. So let's throw down a oh, did I not put my modifier here? Let's throw down an edit poly. Actually, we're going to convert it to an edit poly. When I set up my buttons, because as you guys know, I reinstalled my operating system with the Creators Update for Windows. So I had to reinstall all of my software, and I forgot to put one of the buttons here that I really like. So again, let's just configure our modifier sets here and quickly fix that. We'll add 2 more buttons. I always like to where is it? I'm just looking for a specific modifier. I can't seem to see it there.